Hello everyone, my name is TJ, aka Mr. Wares, and welcome to the BrickCity.deck gaming channel. For today's installment, I wanted to introduce something called Rogue Deck Deck Techs. A lot of the times, especially within the start of BT7, all these deck techs we see feature top tier competitive decks that win you all those tourneys. Well, we're not about that. We love our simple, easy to play rogue decks that are unique in every way we can think of. We love being able to play through it, fight through the hardships, and hey, when we get that W, we feel great. For today, I'd like to do a deck tech on RagnaLordmon. It's one of those Digimon who saw a lot of love in BT3, but since then, it's really just fallen off the map. We're going to start off with the Digitama, the level 2s. Starting with 4 Kakenmon and 1 Kapurimon. Now, I chose Kakenmon over Pagumon simply because, for the most part, you're going to be keeping your Digimon in the breeding area until you hit, at the very least, the ultimate stage. Kakenmon reads, once per turn, when attacking, if this Digimon is level 7, gain a memory. Now, the gain 1 memory is going to be pretty important, simply to control just how much memory we give our opponent after passing. We can attack when we've hit 0 going to 1, and then move our opponent to 2 by hard playing a Ludomon or a Zubamon. Kapurimon is going to be an interesting tech card here, as it's usually going to be used just so we can make sure we get over certain threats in the game. Kapurimon reads, while this Digimon has reboot, it gets plus 1000 DP. Now, RagnaLordmon itself comes with a natural reboot ability, so we're never going to have to worry about trying to jam a Toyagumon underneath it. It's going to be pretty good for when we run into matchups like a Chaosmon or a Omnimon Blitz, or even something as common nowadays as a Craniamon with the inherited Gigadramon that gives plus 2000 DP on your opponent's turn. Moving on to the rookie line, we're going to start things off with 4 Ludomon and 2 Zubamon. These cards are essential for the consistency of the deck, as they let us look at the top 5 cards of our deck to find 1 RagnaLordmon and 1 Digimon with the Legend Arms type. This is a great and effective way to ensure that we get to Ragnamon as quickly and efficiently as possible. Moving forward, we're playing 3 copies of the BT2 Toyagumon and 3 copies of the BT6 Toyagumon. Although the Toyagumon from BT2 might seem a little redundant for the late game Ragnalord, it becomes quite relevant when we digivolve the BT2 Greymon over it, and then a Raiji Ludomon as a level 5 over that. This ensures that Raiji Ludomon can do some mid-game aggression without having to worry about being deleted by the opposition's security Digimon. The Toyagumon from BT6 carries the inherited trait of, on all turns, this Digimon gains plus 1000 DP so long as it has blocker. In most cases, we'll have a Bryludramon underneath the RagnaLordmon, giving it blocker. 15k DP is nothing to scoff at, and in addition, having the Kapurimon underneath makes it a whopping 16k on your turn. That concludes our rookies within the deck, leaving us at a grand total of 12 rookies. One thing I'd like to note is you're free to change the rookies however you obviously see fit. Personally, I think if I were to do any immediate changes, I might change the BT2 Toyagumons for 2 Chumons and 1 more BT6 Toyagumon. This ensures that my opponent can't abuse Hammer Sparks or memory boosts. Additionally, I gain a little bit more consistency with the BT6 Toyagumon, as I generally want to see it in the Digisources once I hit RagnaLordmon. Moving on to champions, we're going to begin with 3 copies of Tia Ludomon. It is a Legends Arm Digimon, which means it is searchable through Ludomon or Zubamon. It carries the inherited effect of, when attacking, if this Digimon is level 7, trigger D-Digivolve 1 on one of my opponent's Digimon. This becomes pretty relevant late game, as when we're trying to swing for game, if our opponent has amassed a little bit too many blockers, we can D-Digivolve their blocker before they can use it as a blocker, just to try to either clear the way or ensure we go in for the final swing. We wouldn't play 4 copies of this, as its effect doesn't really go off until we hit the RagnaLord mark. Moving forward, we play 4 copies of the BT2 Greymon. The Greymon has the inherited effect of, on your turn, while this Digimon has Reboot, it gains jamming. Aside from adding an additional layer of survivability to RagnaLordmon, we can utilize its effect for mid-game aggression with our ultimates through the use of Metal Greymon, which naturally has Reboot, and RagnaLordmon, who would gain Reboot through the toy Agumon. And finally, we play 3 copies of Mechanorimon. Mechanorimon is a 6k blocker that has on your opponent's turn, if this Digimon deletes an opponent's Digimon in battle and survives, unsuspend it. This ensures that you're able to thwart any early game aggression in the form of Rookie Rush or Rookie Heavy decks such as Gabubon and Agubon. And with that, that concludes the champion lineup with a grand total of 10 champions. Moving on to ultimates, we are playing 3 copies of RagnaLordmon and 3 copies of Metal Greymon. RagnaLordmon carries the type of Legend Arms, which means it is also searchable through Ludomon and Zubamon. It also carries the same inherited ability as the Teoludomon, being able to de-digivolve 1 when attacking, so long as this Digimon is level 7. Again, this effect is crucial when swinging in for lethal or trying to make way for lethal by being able to de-digivolve the blockers. If you have the Teoludomon underneath, you're able to de-digivolve 2 separate blockers or disrupt your opponent's Mega to a champion. Metal Greymon is a 7k DP attacker with Reboot. It also carries the inherited ability of, while this Digimon has Reboot, it gains Security Attack +1. Keep in mind, RagnaLordmon comes with Reboot naturally, which means when it swings, it will be swinging with 3 checks as opposed to its natural 2. If we have the Greymon's inherited ability underneath the Metal Greymon to give it jamming, we'd be able to utilize it for mid-game aggression, being able to freely swing into our opponent's security and then re-standing on our opponent's turn. This puts our grand total for ultimates at 6. Moving on to Megas. We are playing a 4-4 split between 4 Durandamon and 4 RagnaLordmon. Although both Digimon don't actually have active effects, they do both carry very crucial inherents that RagnaLord can take full advantage of in the form of Duranda's Piercing inherit and RagnaLordmon's Blocker inherit. This gives us a bit of a sword and shield tactic, as we can ensure that regardless of their blockers, we can get our 2 to 3 checks in and still have a blocker up on our opponent's turn. Moving on to our wonderful level 7 and the main piece that makes this deck run, we play 4 copies of RagnaLordmon. RagnaLordmon is a 14 DP, 3 to Digivolve, Security Attack +1, and Reboot. When Digivolving, you may place 1 Durandamon or RagnaLordmon from your hand on top of this card's Digivolution cards to gain 3 memory. This means that we can effectively play RagnaLordmon for free on our turn, assuming our opponent doesn't have any Gazimon-esque effects that would restrict us from gaining memory outside of Tamers. Additionally, RagnaLordmon, along with Durandamon and RagnaLordmon, all have the Legend Arms typing, which means they are all also searchable through Ludomon and Zubamon. Keep in mind, Zubamon and Ludomon search for either 1 Legend Arms and or 1 RagnaLordmon, which means we can grab 1 RagnaLordmon and 1 Legend Arms Digimon from among the 5 cards. This ensures that we can try to maximize the versatility of RagnaLordmon by giving it both Piercing and Blocker. Keep in mind, RagnaLordmon's when Digivolving effect does not require you to play a different Digimon than one already in its sources. You can utilize the when Digivolving effect to place a second Durandamon underneath just to ensure that you gain that 3 memory to continue your turn. Moving on to Tamers, we're playing 2 copies of the BT1 Tai Kamiya. Tai has the memory setting effect, which if our memory is less than 3, we go to 3. On our turn, all of our red Digimon with 4 or more Digisources gain Security Attack +1. We play the red Tai over the other black Tamers, as the other black Tamers don't necessarily give us any value. Seeing as how RagnaLord is a red Digimon, the BT2 Tai Kamiya won't give it the +1000 our opponent's turn. Additionally, The Izzy seems a little lackluster, searching the top 3 and rearranging them, when we have Ludomon and Zubomon to help dig. Speaking of digging through our deck, we play 2 copies of Black Memory Boost. It has the main effect of revealing the top 4 cards of our deck and adding 1 black Digimon from among them to our hand. Additionally, on the following turns, we can crack it to gain 2 memory. Being able to search the top 4 cards of our deck is always going to be good, as it helps ensure that we get our proper line for the RagnaLordmon. The additional memory ensures that we can't be memory deprived at 1 all the time on our critical turns. Finishing up our option line, and the final 6 cards of the deck I might add, we're playing 3 copies of Iron Fisted Onslaught and 3 copies of Ultimate Flare. Both are Black's best spot removal, and both have the capability to delete more than 1 Digimon, assuming circumstances are correct, with Ultimate Flare being able to delete all of our opponent's Digimon with the highest play cost, and Ultimate Flare de-digivolving 3 to one of our opponent's Digimon, and then deleting all 3 cost or lower Digimon. Both are going to be pretty essential to show up in security and to be in our hand to help slow down and disrupt our opponent's tempo. And that concludes our channel's first ever Rogue Deck Deck Tech. If you liked what you saw here today, consider liking and subscribing. Shoot me a comment down below on some edits you think you might want for the deck, or hey, let me know what you might want to see next for our next video. With that said, I'll be signing off. Ta-ta!